Ever tried building like a dream team? It's tough, right? Today's deep dive is all about A players, what they are, how to find them, and the surprising truth: not everyone needs to be one. We're digging into building high-performance teams.
This is UnitiQ. Please like and subscribe this video. It is important for us and YouTube algorithms.
A guide by a UK tech unicorn's people management expert. Think of it like your cheat sheet for spotting those high-impact people, maybe even becoming one yourself. And here's a twist: you might find a junior employee who's a total A player, while a senior manager, well, not so much.
What's fascinating is that the source material, it really emphasizes consistent performance over those flashy one-off achievements. It's about impact and mindset, not just job titles.
Okay, so it's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about, consistently bringing the goods.
No.
Makes sense. But how do you actually define an A player? What sets them apart?
Think of it like this. You're scouting for a new football player. They might not be scoring goals yet. They might be brand new to the game. But you see that spark, dedication and training, an insatiable hunger to improve. Those are the hallmarks of an A player, even at an early stage.
I like that. So it's not about where they are now. It's about their trajectory, their potential. Now, how do we spot these rising stars? They're not exactly wearing badges, are they?
Right. But there are subtle clues you can pick up on. The source points out 3 key indicators. First, glowing recommendations from past employers. And not just generic praise. You want to hear, "I'd rehire this person in a heartbeat." That kind of enthusiasm.
So it's not just about skills. It's about the impact they leave, the relationships they build. What else should we look for?
The second sign is passion that extends beyond work. These A players, they tend to have hobbies or interests they're deeply committed to. Could be anything, from competitive baking to volunteering. It's about that drive for excellence that spills over into everything they do.
So if someone is pouring their heart into, say, restoring vintage motorcycles, that might tell you something about their dedication and work ethic.
Exactly. And the third, arguably the most important sign, self-reflection. The ability to learn from mistakes. A players don't just shrug off failures, they analyze them, dissect what went wrong, and come back stronger.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about having that growth mindset, that hunger to constantly improve. Now let's get practical. How do we actually spot these qualities during hiring? Resumes and interviews can be, well, let's just say polished.
Here's where things get interesting. The source recommends a clever trick. Ask candidates how their previous manager would rate their performance. Then compare it to the actual feedback you receive. You'll quickly gauge their self-awareness, how they perceive themselves versus how others see them.
Ooh, sneaky. I love it. It's like a little window into their honesty and self-reflection. What else can we do to get beyond the surface?
Don't just focus on what they achieved, but how. What challenges did they overcome? What decisions did they make? You want to understand their problem-solving process, how they think on their feet.
And don't forget those passions we talked about. Digging into their hobbies can be incredibly revealing. Do they show commitment, a thirst for self-improvement? It all adds up.
Absolutely. Now, this next technique is gold. The screen share technique. Have candidates walk you through a past project, showing you their work. You'll see their thought process in action, their communication style. So much more than just words on a resume.
That's brilliant. It's like a live-action portfolio review. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me, and maybe for you listening too. We've talked about spotting A players, but what about becoming one? What if you're thinking, hey, I want to level up, I want to be that high-impact person? What does the source say about that?
The first step might seem obvious, but it's crucial. Find work you're genuinely passionate about. It's like that student in chemistry class. If the teacher's inspiring, the subject comes alive, and they excel. But if it's just a chore, well, good luck getting an A.
Right, you can't fake passion. It has to be real. So how do you find that work that truly lights you up? What if you're feeling stuck?
That's a great question, and something we'll explore more deeply in part 2. But for now, let's shift gears and tackle a myth that the source directly addresses: the idea that you need an all-A player team to succeed.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Is it really necessary? Or even desirable to have everyone firing on all cylinders all the time? So if an all-A player team isn't the secret sauce, what is? What does the source say about attracting those top performers when you do need them?
It boils down to this. Compensation is important, sure, but it's a baseline. Beyond a certain point, A players are driven by something deeper: purpose, impact. They want to feel like their work matters, that they're contributing to something bigger than themselves.
This reminds me of something the source mentioned. about finding meaning in work. It actually talked about it feeling like adding years to your life, not just in terms of job satisfaction, but a real sense of purpose.
Exactly. When you're engaged in work that aligns with your values, it stops feeling like a job and starts feeling like a calling. And that's the kind of environment A players gravitate towards.
Okay, but how do you create that kind of culture? It can't just be slogans on the wall, right?
Definitely not. The source is very clear on this. A company's mission has to be deeply ingrained in the team. It needs to resonate with everyone, not just be a marketing tactic.
So walk the walk, not just talk the talk. But even with the right mission, how do you ensure you're not just attracting A players, but keeping them engaged and thriving? Is it all ping pong tables and free snacks?
While perks can be nice, the source points to something far more fundamental: psychological safety, creating a space where people feel comfortable, speaking their minds, sharing ideas, and yes, even admitting mistakes without fear of judgment.
That makes a lot of sense. If you want people to take risks, to innovate, they need to know it's okay to stumble sometimes. No one's going to bring their A game if they're terrified of messing up.
Precisely. And this ties into another crucial aspect: fostering a growth mindset. It's not just about hiring people who are already at the top of their game. It's about providing opportunities for continuous learning and development.
So even A players need room to grow. They're not finished products. They're constantly evolving.
Exactly. And to support that growth, you need clear expectations and goals. A players thrive on challenge and accountability. They want to know what's expected of them, how their work fits into the bigger picture, and how they'll be measured.
So it's about giving them a roadmap, a sense of direction. But it's not just about setting goals and then letting them loose, right?
You've hit the nail on the head. Regular feedback is crucial. A players are hungry for it, both positive reinforcement and constructive criticism. They want to know how they're doing, what they can improve on, and how they can keep leveling up.
It's like that athlete who's constantly reviewing game footage, analyzing their performance, looking for that edge.
Exactly. And it's not just about giving feedback, it's about receiving it as well. Leaders who are open to feedback from their teams, who are willing to learn and grow alongside their employees, create a culture of mutual respect and trust.
Okay, this is all great in theory, but are there any real-world examples from the source? Bring these principles to life. How are companies actually putting this into practice?
One example that stood out to me was the emphasis on cross-functional collaboration. The source argues that A players are often eager to learn from others, to share their knowledge, and to work on projects that stretch their skills and perspectives.
So breaking down those silos, getting people working together across different teams and departments.
Exactly. Not only does this foster innovation and creativity, but it also helps build relationships and creates a more cohesive work environment.
Makes sense. You're not just tapping into individual brilliance, you're creating a collective intelligence, a synergy that comes from diverse perspectives.
Right, and another practical example the source highlights is recognizing and rewarding effort and achievement. A players are driven by the desire to make a difference, to see their work have an impact. So acknowledging their contributions, showing them their efforts are valued, is crucial.
And that doesn't always have to be about big bonuses or fancy awards.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes a simple thank you, a public acknowledgement of their work, or even just taking the time to genuinely listen to their ideas can go a long way. It's about demonstrating that you see them, that you appreciate their efforts.
This all ties back to that sense of purpose we were talking about earlier. When people feel like their work matters, they're naturally more motivated and engaged. But let's be real, work can't always be serious business. Is there room for fun in this A-player equation?
Absolutely. The source actually emphasizes the importance of creating a fun and engaging work environment. A-players are passionate about their work, but they also want to enjoy the journey. They're looking for a workplace that's stimulating and challenging, but also one that allows them to connect with their colleagues and have a good time.
So it's not all about crunching numbers and hitting deadlines. It's about fostering a sense of camaraderie, a shared enjoyment of the work.
Precisely. When people are happy and engaged at work, they're more likely to be productive, creative, and innovative. And that benefits everyone. Now, before we move on to part 3, I want to address something we briefly touched upon earlier. The idea that not everyone needs to be an A-player.
Right. We talked about the myth of the all-A-player team, but it's worth diving a little deeper into that, isn't it? Especially since we've been focusing so much on attracting and nurturing top performers. It's easy to get caught up in this idea of building a team of superstars, but I think it's important to remember that diversity is key. to any successful ecosystem.
You're absolutely right. In fact, forcing an all-A player team can actually backfire. The source dives into this, explaining that when you have too many people who are constantly pushing boundaries and striving for the spotlight, it can lead to conflict, burnout, and ultimately hinder the team's overall performance.
So it's not just about having a bunch of high achievers. It's about having the right mix of personalities, skill sets, and yes, even ambition levels.
Exactly. Think of it like building a house. You need the architects, the visionaries, those A players who can design and dream big. But you also need the builders, the B players who are reliable, consistent, and skilled at executing those plans. And let's not forget about the plumbers, the electricians, those C players who might specialize in a particular area and provide crucial support. That keeps everything running smoothly.
That's a fantastic analogy. It really highlights the fact that every role is important and that different people bring different strengths to the table.
Right, and one of the biggest benefits of having a mix of A players, B players, and C players is that it creates a more balanced and well-rounded team. A players are often great at innovating and driving change, but they can also benefit from the steadiness and dependability of B players.
So it's about recognizing that each type of player has their own unique value and contribution to the team.
Precisely. And this ties into the concept of equity, which is about ensuring everyone has the opportunity to succeed and reach their full potential, regardless of their perceived player status. It's about recognizing that different people might need different levels of support or different types of opportunities to thrive.
So it's not about treating everyone exactly the same. It's about creating a level playing field where everyone has a fair chance to succeed.
Exactly. For instance, a C player might not be performing well because they haven't received adequate training or resources. By providing them with the support they need, you could be unlocking hidden potential and helping them become a valuable asset to the team.
It's about investing in the development of all your employees, not just those who are already high performers.
Absolutely. And that investment pays off in multiple ways. Not only does it benefit the individual employees, but it also benefits the organization as a whole. When you create a culture of equity and inclusion, you attract and retain a wider range of talent, foster innovation, and ultimately build a more resilient and successful business.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We started by exploring what defines an A player, but we ended up uncovering so much more. We've delved into the importance of purpose, psychological safety, growth mindsets, and ultimately, the power of embracing a more inclusive and equitable approach to teamwork.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you, and I hope that you, listening, have gained a deeper understanding of what it truly takes to build high-performing teams.
Absolutely. It's not about chasing the elusive all-A player team. It's about fostering a culture where everyone, regardless of their player status, feels valued, supported, and empowered to contribute the unique talents. And as you think about your own teams, I want to leave you with this question. What steps can you take today to create a more inclusive and equitable environment where everyone has the opportunity to thrive? Until next time.
Keep diving deep.